again. Love will tear us apart again. Why is this bedroom so cold? You turn away on your side. Is my timing that flawed?
It's been a long time since we talked, and a lot has happened here in the worldly spouse world. Some of the stuff is still the status quo, nothing's changed. I'm still married and I still have my kids, so that's a good thing. That's always a good thing. But I think there's part of the family that possibly is, I wouldn't say gone, but compromised to a certain extent. And it's complicated. I mean, nothing with the Jehovah Witness thing is simple. It's really in depth and very complicated. And it's a paradox on top of all of that. For those people that have not seen my channel before or are new, I'm the worldly spouse, and just like the title entails, I'm married to a fully indoctrinated, since birth, Jehovah Witness, and I am not of her faith. So it's the lifestyle or the experiences of being in that particular dynamics here. I don't know exactly how I could formulate this experience that we just had in the past 6 months, I think. And it involves family that is blood relations to my wife. So this particular person, I'm not going to say who it is. I could just say that it's blood. It could be a cousin, a aunt, or a sibling, or something to that effect. But definitely close to her inner circle, my wife's inner circle. And this person, just out of respect, I don't want to divulge any details of this person's identity, not even the gender, but, use your imagination and you can have a gist of how this is going to play out. And it's all true. I mean, I'm just relating my experiences being in this situation here. And this particular story is somewhat of a paradox. You would think that I would come from an angle of, because my in-laws and my wife's family and my wife is Jehovah Witnesses, that is going to take that spin, and that's going to be a big influence of, whatever behavior they are exhibiting towards this person. But it's really not going that way. I have to give credit where credit is due and not totally demonize, that particular JW dynamic in this situation. Like I said, it's complicated, but, you may think I may be bitter or something to that effect, but to a certain extent, yes, but not totally. I have to be fair. I have to be honorable in my description of what's going on. And this case is no exception. So this person with their spouse moved into our home for a little bit until they could get their feet on the ground again, as far as being stable. And it wasn't that they lost a job or anything like that. They just needed like a staging area before they could move on and do something more permanent near where we live. They wanted to move into our community up here. And so this particular person, the blood relation to my wife, asked if they could, stay there for a little bit until, they get their own place and so forth. And I personally, this is the only person in my wife's whole JW family that I like, except for maybe one or two other persons, but not in the same league as this person. I'm really fond of this person, and this person is the salt of the earth, bar none. So if you're listening, don't get too bashful. But anyways, and mind you, from way back when, this person as well is or was fully indoctrinated into the Jehovah Witness religion. And just recently, maybe last 2-3 years, I don't know, we only spoke briefly about it. This person did some research, had some gut feelings about, the whole JW scenario, and did some research, and it was off to the races. That was it. And she's really critical about it, and gave everything credit as far as opposers and also people that are, for the society. But turns out at the very end, when all is said and done with the religion, and with the inherent, dangers of what this person was gonna do afterwards, it seems like this person was ready to take that next step, and cut the rest of the family off because of shunning or whatever. But so when this person came into our household and stuff, and the in-laws, they're close by as well. My in-laws, core of the family was here, and this person decided to come clean and give a position of where she with the religion. They had some, I would say, idea about it, but they were in denial. And I don't blame them for being in denial, because this particular person was the family golden child when it comes to JW living. Married to a JW for and all that, baptized and all that good stuff that happens in that particular religion. So this person came clean to the family, and first to my wife in private, I would imagine. And then later on, the spouse told the in-laws that, of the situation. Then again, later, this person went and told them face to face, I think. I'm not too sure. To my wife and her family's credit, and I was somewhat surprised. I didn't think that this would happen. But then again, I should have known, because something like this has happened in the past to a certain extent. They did not shun her. This person that left the religion now, and that's related to them, told them that this person was not going to go back ever, and this person gave legitimate, reasons why or why not. In any event, this person came out, and the family did not shun her at all. If anything, I think they worked on this person's case to try to get her back into the fold, but they kept it hush-hush to a certain extent. So they were playing by, I don't know, a loophole or something, that they were not going to shun her. And I think they told people, but it didn't get to the elders, where the elders will come around and say, well, if this is the case, you have no choice but to shun this person, even though this person is not on their congregation, didn't have no contact with them whatsoever. But, the society is getting a little bit tougher on these cases like that. So they were still talking and having regular, family discussions and stuff like that, still within, our family. That really surprised me, and I was looking. I had a little glimmer of hope that, that the family would maybe, I wouldn't say change, but, this was something that I never seen from them before. I was like, wow, they have compassion after all. But it didn't last too long, I would say. But from that statement that I just made is not from because of being a Jehovah Witness, but there was a falling out between the two parties. This person that came into our lives, this person has a worldly spouse. And my wife just hates this person's guts to this worldly spouse, not myself, but this other person. This person is very opinionated and was really ignorant to the Jehovah Witness way, or I don't know. I don't know what sort of classification I should put this person under, but definitely underestimated the JW mindset, and I believe possibly just discarded or didn't take into account that particular mindset, and it didn't go too well with this person and the family. When all is said and done, the three groups of families that are close to us up here, the in-laws, the brother-in-law, and my wife, it pretty much bonded together to be against the worldly spouse, and to kind of like, I wouldn't say team up against them, but kind of like give them the cold shoulder, and it just went all south after that. I try to keep the peace and maybe a little, I don't know. It was done. That particular relationship is pretty much gone. And of course, the ex-JW spouse is going to stand by their person, their worldly spouse, and pretty much they are moving out of the area, and all their original plans are scrapped as far as that's concerned. So now there's this huge disconnect, or well, how would I say, rift between the families now, and it's done. And at the very beginning, I started to blame the JW mindset, and until one particular day in the kitchen, I just turned to my wife and say, "Hey, are you this hostile against this person because of that person not being a JW or something to that effect?" And I truly believe that her response was honest, and she said no, she just plain and simply does not like this person whatsoever, and the JW question was not in play, and I believe her. So I don't think that had anything to do with it, but deep down inside, I think she used some aspects of JW culture to make it easier for her to kind of hate this person, and so forth. So there is some sort of influence there, but not in the surface. It was just leaning towards pure hate for this person. I can't sugarcoat that. So that's the story so far. How this equates to the JW lifestyle, I'm really not too sure. This whole thing is a paradox, and it's always been a paradox when you mix in the Jehovah Witness element into it. Like I said, I believe it's got some influence, or a major deciding factor as to how they would react to a certain situation. Everything is dictated by the society and what they recommend. So that's the story, and it's a shame, because I would love to have this other family come live close to us to have a worldly sort of perspective as an example to my kids to see and experience, other than a whole JW majority in our family here. And also this ex-JW family member also sort of giving some stories about the other side, the ex-JW activities and mindset as well, as far as the truth about the truth and some of these other cases. But this person did mention a lot of anti-JW stuff, but it wasn't propaganda or anything like that. This person pretty much used scientific evidence and things of that nature, like possibly the Noah Ark thing and the world being covered in water, where there's no physical evidence of that have been taking place, using geological history that's embedded in the earth that kind of tells the life story of the earth itself. This person was coming from this angle, and I could say that not the mother-in-law, the uber narcissistic JW, wasn't having none of it, or pretty much listened for a little bit, but it all went over her head, and she just went back into the JW programming and started to debate, her perspective of it, and that subject just went, nowhere. And including my wife, I'm sure they had some conversations, but I haven't heard anything about it. And of course, my wife is still within the religion and was pretty much in a sort of guarded posture, as far as, her walls were up, and she was, on guard as far as everything. So that didn't work, and what can I say? I kind of didn't want to tell this story, but in this particular manner, but it is somewhat of a launching point of other things that happened later on, and I just needed to get this story out to kind of like set the whole chain of events into perspective here for later videos on, living with a JW. Okay, I hope this makes sense, and we'll see what happens.